welcome back to another Office Hours APJ. Although we have more North America representation today than APJ at the moment. We'll see who pops in. I got David and Harold with me. David's on the CSA team, customer success team with me. And Harold, what's you're on the VCPP, the partner program, but what's your actual title? I can't remember.
I'm a staff cloud solutions architect.
Staff Cloud Solutions Architect. Okay.
Yeah, it's a mouthful, but yeah, but we essentially work with partners, enabling them through either it's training. Lately, we've been working on the master services competency, enablement for partners. But we also work with them on proof of concepts that they're doing for themselves, as well as what they're doing with customers.
So, how much of that has moved to VMC now from like vCloud Director?
Not so it's separate right now. I mean, we have the different routes. So we have CISO, we have what we call our traditional cloud providers that use vCloud Director, and then we also have our solution providers. So I mostly work with the CISOs and solution providers, which is solution provider are the people that sell through, so they resell basically VMC. But what we're seeing is that gradually some of them want to maybe do more ongoing managed services. So they might be moving to a quasi or semi-managed services or a provider, cloud provider type of model. But that's kind of where we see some of them going eventually.
Yeah. We had Daniel on and kind of presenting on the stuff you guys do, and that's a recording we have up on YouTube for anybody that's interested in that. It's definitely if you're a partner. We do have a managed service offering on top of VMC that's fully managed by partners. It's I actually don't have access to the screen to kind of demonstrate how it looks, but there is kind of a parent organization that's the managed service provider with the child organizations being their customers. So, it's not just as you were saying, Harold, it's not just VMware selling this. CISOs, partners of all shapes and sizes, get in on it and can resell it and actually get a lot of the managed services, which is where traditionally I find a lot of the partners actually make their money is on the managed services on top of the platform as opposed to selling the licenses themselves. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So yeah, that's the Cloud Provider Hub offering. I think they were calling it the Managed Service Provider Portal previously, but as of last VMworld, it was branded the Cloud Provider, and that's what they're using for not just VMware Cloud on AWS, but all of our cloud services eventually as they get introduced to the Cloud Provider Hub. Service providers or our partners that are service providers will be able to uh, provide managed services with VMC as well as on that relationship for their partners or rather customers rather that are consuming other cloud services as they're introduced to Cloud Provider Hub and VMware's overall cloud services portal.
Okay, so we're expanding it out to other services. That's good to hear. We do highly value our partners here at VMware. We know majority of our business gets done through them, so we're definitely trying to make it easier for partners to get a piece of the action, as it were. Have you been working on that the VMware on Azure stuff at all through the partners yet, or is that still pretty new?
But yeah, that's still pretty new, and I think that the focus is having I think Microsoft and Cloud Simple and eventually VirtuStream probably the main I guess sales point of contact for those. And I think it's eventually it might come our way, but I haven't seen anything just yet. So I think it's mostly on Microsoft and their partners that they're using for that particular offering.
Yeah, we do often get a lot of questions around that Azure offering, and we always have to specify it's a partner-run, partner-led engagement. VMware technically has nothing to do with it per se. It's it's not VMware Cloud on Azure. It's just VMware on Azure. So there is a difference there. That's not just nomenclature. We do not manage that infrastructure. The partner will do that for you. But yeah, so we're about a month away from VMworld here. I do have a workshop we're doing at VMworld this year. I'll put that out there and advertise a little bit. I think it is filling up. If it hasn't filled up already, it's on the Sunday. Running a 5-hour workshop on VMC and HCX and our DR offering as well. So we're all in full swing. Definitely, you can feel the vibe around VMware that everything's starting to really ramp up for that week in San Francisco this year. And there's really some really cool announcements coming. In a couple weeks, I'm going to do a session on kind of what to expect at VMworld, and after VMworld, I'm going to do a session on what was announced because it's Harold, you've been to many of them like I have, where you know maybe Harold, you're almost as old as I am, I think. Where back in the early days of VMworlds, you could kind of take in the majority of the action like 10 years ago. But now you really kind of got to pick your track and specialize in the sessions you want because there's 20 sessions going at once is how it's grown.
Yeah,
But
it's definitely, yeah, a lot. The basically this whole space has just grown like crazy over the last 10 years. So yeah, you definitely have to kind of, pick where you go, see what you're interested in, might be able to catch a few things, that you might need an introduction to. But if you have an area, you want to, get leveled up or stay current on some of your, you know, main focus areas for your skill sets, there's a lot to basically take in. So yes, definitely, yeah, a lot of different technologies and relationships and partnerships that we work with. That is pretty busy conference.
yeah, extremely busy conference. Like I said, I agree with you there. But thankfully now we do make most of the content available online afterwards. Like I said, I'll do a little bit of recap of what happened in the VMware Cloud side of the house for sure. Anyway, for those at APJ, we did do a Oracle on AWS Oracle on VMC on AWS session on Tuesday. That's up on our YouTube page for anybody that's wants to take that in on some of the best practices on how to implement Oracle onto VMware Cloud and how to migrate it and stuff. It was a great session put on by a good friend of mine, Sadir. And so that's up on the YouTube page as well. I just wanted to mention that to the APJ folk that it's there because we did it in the North America hours, which would have been like 3 o'clock in the morning for you guys. We are trying to line up a Horizon on VMware Cloud session here, as we talked about last week, David, with you and Clement. That it seems to be perhaps a decent use case for those in APJ to deploy desktops perhaps more around the world to get closer to their users or remote offices or something. So hopefully we'll get a session on that next week. But yeah, I didn't really have much to talk about today. David, did you have anything to mention along what I was just talking about?
You know, recently I bit of working on the the enterprise federation, and yeah, if you yeah okay, I maybe can demo a very simple use case,
Sure.
because yeah,
I'll stop
the
sharing.
simple
If you want to share away, go for it. Take it
okay,
away.
yeah, okay, cool. Yes, I'm not sure. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Yep.
Yes, yes. Basically, that's the enterprise, enterprise federation. Enterprise federation, as my knowledge, they allow the customer can use their own corporate account to to log in and management their VMC cloud service on AWS, right? And currently they have multiple steps to required to, because this is not really a GA feature. I'm not either GA feature, right?
Yeah, it is a GA feature. It has been
Yeah.
for a while, actually.
Yeah, yeah, and but then now it's still not really fully automated, right? And they
No,
have
it's still pretty manual right now. It's still something we're working on.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
As my knowledge, they require three high-level steps to set up the enterprise federation. The first step is the our team work with the customer to set up, work with the internal team to set up a dedicated vIDM tenants for the customer. Then we can work with them together to do the configuration and the setup. And currently, we support a lot of use case or scenario. We can the vIDM tenants can be integrated with the Active Directory or integrated with the Active Directory Federation service or some third-party IDP provider like the very popular one like Okta to do the integration. And after the step 2, the setup being done, the customer need to be, so then we read the request with our internal team to register the customer domain to do the authentication. So after step 3, because like if customer using ADFS or third-party IDP, they can provide that can be provided multi-factor authentication, so they can do a lot of good stuff to meet their security requirement. Recently in APG, especially in AZ, we have 2 customers either asking these features, and so from my end, I try to bit of a play with the vIDM setup, especially for the step 1 and step 2. So I get a bit of experience. I'm not sure either good, I just today, because this can be very complicated based on the user case. Today, maybe I can demo a very simple user case, just using the AD for integration and for the user sync and authentication. So the first step is, to install the vIDM connector. The vIDM connector is installed on the customer side, and the function for the vIDM connector is for the user sync. And for when we mainly for all user case, we need the vIDM connector for the user sync, or like a user sync the user from their Active Directory to the vIDM tenants. That's the first steps. So maybe I can demo here.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so everybody knows, that's the vIDM connector is just an appliance. Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
you are exactly appliance. And sorry, for vIDM, for the Enterprise Federation, the vIDM not really a vIDM is the appliance, but the connector itself is more like a Windows package.
Yeah, it's an installable on Windows, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We only support to install on Windows now. Before they have a Linux version, right? Or the virtual appliance version. But now it's the only Windows version being supported. So that's more like you have to install that. Installation is quite straightforward. Maybe I can show here if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So I got my own lab for myself. So I just get the Windows Server 2012 release 2. So the installation is quite straightforward, but a few things is very specific for the Enterprise Federation when you do the installation. So for example, I just double click. Yeah, very straightforward. It's very simple user case. So they just installation. The installation itself, take 5 to 10 minutes, depending on your server. So firstly, you just very straightforward, as I mentioned, just accept a license agreement, click next. Normally I just accept the default folder, installation folder. Then that's just because we are creating a new connector instead of migrating. So we just click next. Then they will pop up according to the host name. They will pop out this information automatically for the vIDM connector. Then that's the things is very specific for Enterprise Federation user case. We as a recommendation, as a service, we like the customer to use very consistent configuration. So here we won't tick to run the connector service as domain user account. We won't tick this one. We will leave this unchecked. Then click next. That's the only things we need. Then they give you the question as you confirm. Once you confirm, you can go ahead to the installation. The installation itself is very straightforward, and so once the installation done, you need to do, the customer needs to register the connector to the vIDM tenants. I go to my own vIDM tenants here. So the vIDM tenants I get it from the test drive. They give you dedicated tenants that you can use. So to register the connector, the installed connector to this vIDM tenants, the things either you have to add a connector here. Then you give a name. For example, give a name. Then you need to generate the activation code. This activation code will be used once the installation done on the Windows server. So yeah, but the installation take let me go back to check. Normally they take 5 to 10 minutes. Either have to wait a few minutes for this installation to be done. So any question or?
No, I'm good so far. If anybody has any questions out there, could definitely ask. And to be clear, so this is to log into the cloud services portal via
Yes.
your
Yep.
domain credentials, not to vCenter directly yet.
Yes, that is only for yeah, you are right. For go to the the VMC console, not really go to the virtual
Yeah,
server
that what's coming.
console.
And the major use case I think for this is a lot of customers a want that logging ability, and b that two-factor authentication that becomes possible
Yes,
as
that's
well.
right. And this one thing I want to highlight here is the connector is always required no matter you are doing. Oh, it's quite quick today. So once you finish, and they can you see that's the virtual appliance management interface that the user give the URL. They they click yes, they can launch the browser to go to the link. But normally, I found when the installation done, they need the service not really up. They have to waiting for 1 minute or two for the for the service to fully running. So the first time when you open the browser to go to that virtual appliance management interface, there will be more like oh, this time everything looked like performing very well, so it immediately up. For other installation, I have done few times, right? For the customer, so they have to waiting for 1 or 2 minutes to be up for this installation.
Yeah, are you actually complaining that your demo is going well? Is, is that what's
Oh
happening?
no 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 no!
I'm just kidding. I'm bugging you. I'm bugging you.
I think the demo is either quicker. Normally, as I mentioned, the installation take 5 to 10 minutes to complete, but this time it's more like a quite quick, and just take 2 or 3 minutes. Look like now, you see we have got the we just now we got the activation code here, so we just copy from the vIDM tenants. That tenants normally will be created by by the VMware team, and the customer access team will get the admin access and give the access to the customer. So they work the customer success team like us. We will work with the customer to set up the whole the to do the vIDM configuration setup. That's first step is the register domain here, right? So we just get the active connector activation code and go back to the Windows server, the connector installed on, then continue. The first thing is just give the local admin password. So I just give the very straightforward one. The next step is just get copy the activation code we got from the vIDM tenants. So then continue. Then this began, the connector began according to the activation code. They began to, register itself to the vIDM tenants. Once
Yeah,
they
and
register,
just something to add quickly here too as well. So, because this is reaching out to the cloud, you have to make sure that the firewalls are open, and if you have a web proxy or any of those kinds of things, that has to be configured
yeah, yeah,
prior
yeah,
to this, or this might fail.
yeah, exactly. They need to just open the port 403, go to the the vIDM tenants. That's either SaaS service provided by VMware. So you just need to open URL, whitelist this URL, then you can get the access. Okay, that's a very interesting thing. This is very normal for Windows 2012 release 2. I found every time, because as I mentioned, I installed these kind of things a few times. Every time I got this error message. But this, from my understanding, according to my own experience, this is just false alerts. It not really means anything uh, doesn't work well, but just more like UI kind of a bug. If you, for example, if you go back to again, you will see setup is complete. Very interesting. But this only happened because I have installed on Windows 12 R2 and Windows 12 and Windows 2016, and only Windows 2012 R2 gets this kind of issue. The alerts just a 404 error. No other system, all other OS, Windows Server, they know this issue. It work directly and just pop up this window setup is completely done, everything working properly. Once we installed it, this setup is complete. This message means the registration in the Windows connector, the vIDM connector into the vIDM tenant is successfully done. And then I go back to here. I just click OK. So you see the connector is registered here successfully. Any question?
No, just like that. It's probably a browser thing on the Windows.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, the browser. But I found it only for Windows 2012.
well,
Release
it's good to demonstrate though that if people hit that, it did actually did work. So it's
Yeah.
actually a good demo. So
Yeah. Next step, what we can do is just you have to add the directory. Add a directory because as our recommendation for Enterprise Federation, we just using add directory over LDAP. We just click add directory, just give the name. Normally, I just use the name of the directory name. So just using, we only support currently, it only support, for this Enterprise Federation, we only support Active Directory over LDAP. So that's the, the connector we just installed. It's showing up here automatically. For this simple user case, we're using the this connector not only for user sync, we use this one for authentication as well. So we put it here. So directory search attribute, they have two options here. One is the SAML account name. The other one is the user principal name. I like to use the user principal name. The reason is because I use this, vIDM tenants to do more testing case. For example, I can integrate with Okta, because Okta by default their username format is the email address, and the user principal name is a kind of email address format as well. So they make the when I pick up using the user principal name, they make the user match between the vIDM tenants and the Okta, for example, the IDP provider. The username can match exactly. No need to any further configuration. That's the I normally just pick up the user principal name. So that's of course you can, as I mentioned, you can enable the start TLS to do encrypted the traffic for the authentication and the user sync. But I just leave for now, just using the standard LDAP. So just put the according you need to give the by the user details, so you can buy the to the Active Directory by LDAP. So I just give the standard one. Because I already type in the username and the DN all this information before, so I just select them, make the life much easier. So then you need to give the username of the by the user password. So as I mentioned, I want to highlight here, all this configuration I showing here, most of the time will be done, the will be, the customer success team like us will work with the customer to set up this thing together. Because for example, the customer need to be typing this kind of information, especially like username, password here to integrate with the ID. So I can save next. Yeah, any question when we are waiting? Because this normally take 2 or 3 minutes to go to the next step.
no, I don't see any questions coming in quite yet, but anybody can feel free to ask it. It looks pretty straightforward so far with the
this basic setup is very straightforward, but so yeah, I think most of the customers should feel very comfortable to do this configuration by themselves. But I think maybe for myself, just a bit of a practice and a demo to the customer, make them, yeah. So they see the more like the buy the process take 2 or 3 minutes according to my own experience. So you can see they automatically get to the domain here, and we just click next. The next step either for pick up which user group you want to sync the cross. Oh, okay, sorry. That's the map user attribute. That's the I just accept the default. As I mentioned, the username we're using the user principal name. the last name is, that's from AD first name and email address. That's required by default, and no need to do any change. Just accept that. Confirmation, go ahead. So here is just I mentioned, which group you want to sync from, synchronize from the Active Directory to the vIDM tenants. So you need to type in these kind of things to search. So you can search you can find the groups. They will show up all of a group, but all of group you define in the Active Directory, but you personally don't want to sync all of the group. So from my point of view, I just we'll select all. You see, you can pick up group you want to synchronize, because I default a few group here, like SDDC admin, SDDC operator, and SDDC read only. So let's save the selecting. So you see, I pick up these three groups, and then go to next. So normally our recommendation is not really sync all of group, just sync the group you need to minimize the the sync task, the loading. So you can specify individual user to be synced across, because this user, John Smith, this user will be synced, because we just use this user as a byte user, so they put in here automatically. But as a recommendation, we want to sync the group than the individual user. So we just click next. So we can sync the group now. So it's quite straightforward, and normally the sync is quite straightforward. Once the sync is done, what we can see, we can go to the user and the group here, and see which user and group have been synced across. You see, I have a sync so many, like the users in my domain lab.local, that's the user have been synced across. And if you go to the groups, they will show the three groups have been synced across as well. So they have, each group have, like the first group, SDC admin have 2 users, and SDC operators have 6 users, and read-only have another 3 users. That's the user sync. And this user sync is required for all of the user case for enterprise federation, no matter you using two-factor authentication or not, that's required, because that's the easy your user management. For example, if you delete one user in AD, this user will automatically be deleted here when the user sync happening. So you can define the user sync according based your setting up. So sorry, the user. So the directory we just added is showing here, right? And you can change the sync setting. So you can pick up to sync per week, per day, or every hour, or manually. So the group you can add, if you need to sync more group, you can add more group here and to do the sync. In addition, another feature is for safeguards. That means they not really allowed you, for example, instantly to remove more user or add more user by any chance, bit of a secret guard things. That's why they call safeguards here. So basically, that's the first step, for the user sync. Once the user sync done, because as I mentioned, the VMware Identity Manager is a SaaS service. We have one mode that need to be enabled for the enterprise federation called outbound only mode. Outbound only mode only required to open the outbound rules from the connector, go to the VMware Identity Manager to enable this for the authentication as well. Not only for user sync, but for automation as well. To enable this feature, we need to go to in the built-in identity provider to enable this feature. for the outbound only mode. So the things is here. Okay. Yep. Firstly, we have to pick up the user. We just define the directory, either lab local. And once we define here, then we can begin to select the connector we just installed. So add connectors. So this built-in identity provider can use the newly installed connector. Once the connector being added successfully, we can see we get a new authentication method can be used. That's the password cloud deployment. This password cloud deployment authentication method will enable the outbound only mode. We enable this one, then deselect this one, deselect the default password local directory, and enable as a cloud deployment. Once it's done, so that's basically enable the outbound only mode for authentication. The last step for this demo is to go to update the existing, the access policy to using the newly defined authentication method and the connector we just installed. So go to the default access policy. To be easy, we just update the existing default access policy. We go to the configuration, add a new policy, and we can leave the default for this user network range and user accessing content from, and leave these two, all range and all device type. For user point of view, we just defined, we need to search the three group we just synchronized. We can add these three groups to using this authentication to use this access policy.
And just so everybody knows, so that those top two is if you want to, stop people from logging in from outside your corporate network, or not on a corporate device if you decide that that's what your policy dictates.
Yes, exactly. And because we may in a production environment, for example, we may define a dedicated network range for your management purpose, right? You define that range, then enable the local directory authentication. So that means in case anything like your AD stop working, or your IDP, third-party IDP or ADFS stop working, you still have access to this device. Yeah. But here we just for simple demo, we just leave as it is. And in the authentication method, we pick up to using cloud deployment. And for the fallback method, we still, as I mentioned, we still want to log in case our configuration doesn't work. So just put the password local directory, save this policy. As a policy, the invalidated from from the top to the bottom. So we drag this new policy onto the top of this all the rules, and go to next. Let's save it. Okay, that's the configuration done. For if the configuration works as expected, we should be able to. We can test it now to testing this. I'll see if correct or not. Oh, sorry. Why cannot? Sorry, wrong button. I always found it's very easy to put the wrong button to open like Postman or this. Sorry for the disruption. Maybe I should get, okay, cool. I just want to get the login page. Yeah, go to this login page window. Yes, then we can begin to log in here. You can see I just type in the John Smith's email address, or sorry, not the email address, in the user principal name, and just the next. Give the password. Looks like good. You can see I successfully logged in this vIDM tenants. This so far we have demoed the two steps we're talking about here. Firstly to create a dedicated vIDM tenants that's done by the by our internal team. And this demo is focused on the step 2, install the vIDM connector, at the same time do the configuration and integrate it with the identity provider. In this case, we just demo it for using AD for authentication. Yeah, that's the. For step 3, we cannot really demo here because we have to read the support request with our internal team to register the domain. But here, that's the mainly the challenge from my experience is the step 2, especially like other scenario like ADFS and third-party IDP. They need more configuration than the simple use case. Yeah, Matt, that's I can demo today. Yep.
No, that was great.
Yeah.
That was really good, actually. I think we donated questions that I've seen. I think we might actually leave it with that for today because I think this would be a really good video to throw up on YouTube for anybody to kind of referencing the steps to kind of go through to configure some things. I think that was a really good thing, and I appreciate that, David.
Yeah, because I try to have a look at what I can do. I joined a few sessions. You have do a lot of great presentation. I try to have a look to share something.
No, I think absolutely. I do appreciate that. That's it's really good. Like I said, I think I'll throw this up I'll put this on our YouTube page for people to reference afterwards because we do get quite a few asks around this. And if anybody watches this on YouTube and has any questions, absolutely leave a comment or reach out to us at cloudcs@vmware.com and we can answer that for you. So I think we'll wind it up today a little bit early. Like I said, that was really fantastic, and I want to keep the video a little bit short to put up onto YouTube because, like I said, that was great. We'll be back here again next week. Then we're going to have, actually, we'll be back here every Thursday, as per usual. And we'll have, the next session we'll have is our EMEA Americas office hours that Will Rodbard hosts on Tuesday. We do have some more webinars coming up. Everything gets put up onto the Twitch page in our events. So that's twitch.tv/VMware Cloud. You can see all the events coming up and register some reminders and join the Zoom invites from there, as we do send out some Zoom invites as well. I'd like to really thank Harold for coming out and offering some insight, and David, again, extremely grateful for the demo you did, and I look forward to seeing everybody again next week.